Hey kiddos, last week we talked about self-esteem and self-concept, and this week we're going to talk about nonverbal communication. So let's get everybody introduced.
Hey kiddos, I'm Liam. I'm a sophomore majoring in construction management at UNO. What a construction management major does is we basically get to tell the people who are building buildings like this pretty much how to do it and where to go and what to do.
Hey kiddos, my name is Alex, and I'm a freshman at UNO. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering, which those are the people that do stuff like the air conditioning in your house.
Hey kiddos, I'm Max.
And I'm Owen.
And we are freshmen at UNO studying
Architectural engineering. Now, what architectural engineering is there will be people that'll design things like buildings and other structures, and it's our job just to make sure that they, stand up.
For example, this bridge. We would use things like these pillars and other appropriate supports to make sure that they don't fall down.
Hey kiddos, my name is Sam Helt. I'm a freshman here at UNO and I'm studying for electrical engineering. Now what electrical engineering does is we get to make all sorts of cool things with circuits and electricity, like my guitar amplifier.
Hey everyone, my name is Ariel Rubino. It is my first year at UNO and I'm studying to become a biological systems engineer. So you're probably like, wow, that is a lot of big words shoved into this one big thing and I need an explanation. To make it easier, I'll break it down. So biological means the study of life, systems means living systems such as organisms, cells, plants, living stuff, and then engineering is what we all know and love, so I will not explain that again. So as a whole, biological systems engineering is using living systems and engineering to help improve the lives of people and also our planet. What I want to do is I want to use my skills in math and science to develop solutions to environmental problems.
Alright, now that we've all been introduced, let's start it off with eye contact and the importance that plays in nonverbal communication.
Hey kids, today I'd like to talk to you about eye contact. Now, what is eye contact? Well, eye contact is what I'm doing with you right now through the camera. It is when you maintain and you keep your eyes on the person you are having a conversation with. Now, before we go any further, I'd like you to play this short little game with me. Sound good? Alright kiddos, what I'm going to need you to do for this activity is I'm going to need you to grab a partner. For me, today, I have Owen helping me out with this. So, one of you will be partner A, and the other one will be partner B. Now, you are going to be having a staring contest with your partner. I want you to look your partner in the eyes and maintain that eye contact and try to keep your eyes open for as long as you can. What you're going to do is partner A will then tell partner B the most exciting thing that happened this day. And then once you're done, you will switch and partner B will do the same thing to partner A. Here's how it will work. The most exciting thing I did today was I ate Chinese food.
See, the most exciting thing that I did today was my roommate lit the oven on fire.
Wonderful. Now as you can see, we maintained eye contact the whole time and we kept our eyes wide open. Now, try and do that exercise with your partner. Good job participating in that activity, kiddos. You rocked it. Now, I want you to think back to what you just did. During that conversation, did you ever feel like your partner didn't want to be talking to you? Probably not, right? That is because of the eye contact that you were experiencing.
Distraction!
But Max, does that mean you have to stare into the eyes of the person talking the entire time? That sounds awkward.
Excellent question, Alex. Not quite. Now, while we don't have to stare in the eyes of the other person the entire time, we do want to make sure that we are maintaining that good eye contact. You can still look away on occasion to not make the situation uncomfortable, but you must remember to at least signal that you are focusing on what they are saying.
Thanks, Max.
Now, some fancy adults have said that we should maintain eye contact 50% of the time when we're talking to somebody, and 3/4 of the time when we are listening. Now, I want to say that again. We should maintain eye contact 3/4 of the time when we are listening to somebody. This is super important because we want to make sure that they know that we are engaged in the conversation we're having with them. So, next time you're having a conversation with a friend or a teacher or anybody in your life, try to maintain that eye contact 3/4 of the time when you're listening to really make them know that you want to be there.
Let's face it, nonverbal communication doesn't just use eye contact, we also use our faces. This is called facial expressions. What are facial expressions? One or two movements on the face that show emotions. Some examples are happiness, sadness, anger, and fear.
Now, we're talking about these facial expressions, and you probably have a pretty good idea of what they might look like. But we're going to try and put that into practice now. What we're going to do is we're going to put up on the screen some different examples of different facial expressions. And what we'd like you guys to do is, once they're up there, we're going to pause the video, and you guys are going to talk amongst yourselves and just try and get a general idea of what you think the different facial expressions are. And once you've done that, we'll come back. So, that was probably pretty easy, right? I mean, most people are generally pretty keyed into just recognizing what another person is feeling based on the movements of their eyes, their eyebrows, and their mouth. However, sometimes there are some things that make that just a little bit more difficult. I mean, sometimes maybe somebody's smiling with their mouth, but their eyes are sad. And I mean, sometimes, especially right now, there will be times when you're trying to figure out what another person is feeling, but maybe part of their face is covered. And Ariana is going to show us an example of that.
So here's an example of how it can be so hard to tell what I'm feeling. So I'm wearing sunglasses and a mask, and right now I'm happy. Now I'm sad. Now I'm confused. Now I'm afraid. So you really can't tell what I'm feeling without facial expressions, and that's why they are important.
So, now, using kind of what we've told you about all of these different facial expressions and how to use them to show what you're feeling and how to tell what somebody else is feeling, what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys kind of make your own facial expressions. Now, you guys probably all know what emojis are, right? Yeah, so what we're going to have you guys do is we're going to take a couple minutes, we're going to pause, and you guys are going to draw your own whatever you want, really. But just make sure that it's of a face and you're trying to show some sort of emotion with it. And then once we do that, we're going to pause again, and you guys are going to get into groups, and you're going to kind of showcase what you've made, have the others try and guess what yours is feeling, and after that, we'll come back. And just so that you guys have a general idea of, you know, what you're trying to do right now, here's an example. Now, again, you guys are going to take a few minutes, you're going to draw your own emoji. Hopefully, you know, have some fun with it. And then after that, we're going to come back and you guys are going to talk to each other about what yours is, what the others are. And then we're going to come back again. We're going to lead into the next topic.
After doing the activity, you should have a better understanding as to what facial expressions are and how they could be important. During our part, we explained basic expressions that everyone does, such as happiness and sadness. And we also showed you how emotions can be difficult to see if we have sunglasses and a face gone. In the future, I hope that you'll be able to use these skills in order to help other people, such as, you know, if you see someone who is sad and they don't talk to you or you don't talk to them, but you can just tell that they're sad because they're frowning. In the future, you can just see that and be able to help that person without even talking. I hope you guys enjoyed our video, and here's Alex with body language.
Hey kiddos, Alex here. Now some smart people told me that 60% of your attitude can be shown through your body language. Now, what is body language? Body language is the gestures, the hand motions, everything that you do with your body that shows your mood or your attitude towards something or someone. One of the biggest parts of body language is your posture, like how you're sitting or you're standing at any given time. Like, for example, when someone's slumped over, they're walking, they're looking at the ground, their shoulders are like tucked in, that they're in a bad mood. They're having a rough day, right? They're not really paying attention, life is getting down on them. They're just sad in general. But when someone's standing up straight, their shoulders are back, their back is straight, their chest is out, they're confident, they're having a good day, their energy is high, they're paying attention. Or like with your confidence levels, that can be shown like when someone's leaning in towards you, then they're engaged, they're down, they agree with what you're saying, and they're listening. When someone leans away from you, they're uncomfortable, they're uneasy, they're not really paying attention. Another big part of body language is hand gestures, which is just when you move your hands when you're talking. For example, a lot of people will use what's called the baton gesture, when you just punctuate stuff with a hand motion, like I'm doing right now. They'll punctuate important like sentences or important points by moving their hand up and down. Or another one is when you draw stuff in the air, like what you're talking about. Like say you're talking about a car, for example. You'll be like, it's pretty long, it's about this tall, it's got a spoiler on the back. So yeah, I drew what I was talking about in the air to give you a better idea what it was. But it's not always the best thing to do. Like some people fidget, right? They'll start playing with their bracelets or the edge of their shirt, and that shows uneasiness, right? They're not really comfortable in the situation. All right, kiddos, let's play a little game. Here we're gonna try to show how hard it is to describe something without using your hands. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit on your hands, and then to a partner, you're going to describe one of your favorite toys. Like I am going to describe a bike here in a minute, okay? And then your partner will describe their favorite toy back to you, sitting on their hands. And then you both will use it, and then you're gonna do the same thing again, but this time you're gonna use your hands. And the whole point of this is to think about how much easier it is to use your hands to describe something than when you can't. So, for example, Max and I are going to show you how it's done. All right, Max. So I'm going to describe my bike. Okay. So it was green. It had 2 wheels, one in the front, one in the back. No training wheels. And then it had a handlebar above the front wheel. It was like a U shape. It went up a little bit, racing bike type thing. And it had like a normal shaped seat, like an A-frame type thing. And it was green.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to describe my Batman action figure. So I had this action figure. It was small, about the size of an adult hand. It had a cape coming out of the back. It was all black suit. It all looked the same color, with a little opening for his head, and it had a couple of Batarang gadgets that went along with it.
All right. So now I'm going to describe my bike again. Okay. Same one, still green. And it had 2 wheels. The front one was bigger than the back one. Okay, it had like a metally bit, go across the top, then across the bottom. Then the handlebars were like a U, like a racing bike thing. You grabbed it like this, and that was my bike.
All right, I understand. All right, and so my Batman action figure, it was about this tall. It had a cape coming out of the back. The whole thing was black. It was a Dark Knight outfit. It had a little opening for to show the part of his face that wasn't covered. And it came with 2 Batarangs that he could kind of throw out of his hands if you press the little trigger.
Nice. One of the biggest parts of body language is body gestures, which is just body movements as a whole. Right? That's nodding your head or smiling, stuff like that. It kind of bleeds over into facial expressions and the rest of body language because it's so important. Nodding, for example, right? When someone's nodding super fast, they want to interject something into the conversation. They're trying to speed it up. But when someone's nodding slowly and looking at you and smiling, that means they understand what you're saying and they're on board with the point you're making. I already touched on this a little bit, but smiling, right? It makes everything lighter and more fun, and the conversation and the atmosphere it feels that much better, and it makes everything easier. Hey kiddos, so the activity that I want you to play or do is called emotional charades, right? So I'm sure you've played some form of charades before, but this one we're gonna focus on emotions. So you're gonna pair off into groups of 2, and one person is going to think of an emotion to themselves, right, and act it out to the best of their ability so the other person can guess what it is. And then after that person guesses, you're going to switch, and the other person will act out an emotion, and then their partner will try to guess what it is. So me and Liam are going to demonstrate this. So Liam's going to pick an emotion and act it out, and I'm going to try to guess, and then I'll pick an emotion and act it out, and he's going to try to guess. Sadness.
Yes.
Okay.
Woo! Happiness?
Yes.
Okay.
Good job. And that is how we want you to play emotional charades. So the activity you just did was emotional charades, as I said. And from that, I want you to take away that there are a lot of things that clue you into someone's mood at the time, and that is a huge part of communicating with people. It includes facial expressions, eye contact, body language, all of it. And it's all used at one time to get stuff like emotions across to the people you're talking to.
Great points, Alex. Now we're going to be getting into personal space. All right, kids, let's first talk about intimate space and how close you are to somebody. So right here, since I don't know any of you, this is probably a little bit too close for you guys. But if I go ahead and take a step back, right now is probably fairly good. So if we're, this is probably where intimate space is. It's about 0 to 1.5 feet. This is what you would be talking to somebody when you're, a close friend with them, somebody like your family members or something at home. Now let's talk about personal space. Personal space is usually about 1.5 feet to 4 feet from when you're talking to somebody. Now, when you're doing this is probably someone that you're classmates with, a teacher, something like that, somebody that you know, but somebody that you're not super close with. Could be, again, one of your classmates, such as Alex. About this far away is probably about where you want to be. All right, so where we're at right now is about 4 to 12 feet away. This is what we call public space. Public space is pretty much when you're talking to someone who you don't really know at all. It's pretty much just a stranger. You could be asking them directions someplace, what they recommend, anything like that, but it's basically just somebody who you don't know. This is about the space that you want to be away from them. All right, kids, now that we know what personal space looks like and kind of the boundaries that are there, let's talk about some factors that affect our personal space. One that I'm going to talk to you about today is people who are extroverted, basically people who are super excited to be around other people and who want to talk to other people. Hey, do you know where our interpersonal skills class is?
I do, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
It's on the 2nd floor of the Peter Kiewit Institute on the other side of the triangle.
All right, kids, so now we know a little bit more about personal space. I have an activity for you. So this is the one that I call Who I Allow in My Personal Space. So we have you right here, and then we have 3 things that we talked about again were intimate, personal, and public space. So I already gave you a couple examples, but what I want you to do is I want you to make a chart like this, and then I want you to label who you have in your space. So for my intimate space, I put down my mom, my dad, my sister, and some of my friends. For my personal space, I put down my classmates, my roommates, and my teachers. And then for public space, I put down strangers and other like employees at restaurants or stores or anything like that. So I want you guys to go ahead and give this a try real quick. Take about 5 minutes to do this, and I want you to talk with somebody else in your class too. All right, kiddos, now that we know a little bit more about personal space, kind of what it looks like and what factors affect it, let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19 crisis that we're going through right now. Now, what's going on right now is we've got to make sure that we're giving each other enough personal space and that we're not getting into anybody else's own areas. So let's make sure that we're staying about 6 feet apart and make sure that we're wearing our masks, okay? All right, thanks guys.
Hey kiddos, today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the importance of all these body language techniques that my other good friends here have been talking to you about in previous sections of this video. Now, if you remember about the active listening video way back when, you know that showing that you're engaged in listening is very important. Well, body language is one of the ways that you can. Now, I'm going to get into this in a little bit more in a bit, but right now we have a band performing that'll help show you what I mean. Take it away, boys. wow, those guys are really good. But did you catch something that was happening with the audience? You know, how one was super excited, really having a good time, as probably some of you guys were, but the other, not so much. They were looking around, looking at their phone, generally not showing they were having a good time. And that's fine if they really weren't, because everyone has their own opinions on music. But what happens when you do something like that in a class, during a presentation, or during this video right now? It's kind of disrespectful, isn't it? So, next time, why don't you try showing positive body language, showing that you're engaged, and respecting the speaker or presenter? Who knows? Maybe it'll help you listen better.
Hey everyone. Weren't those some great points that Sam was making back there? I mean, he's right. We have to be so careful of our body language and the nonverbal cues that we are giving off to other people when we're having a conversation with them. I want you to think back to the previous parts of this video, and especially on the activities. Think back to eye contact and what you learned from that activity, and how much better it felt when you had somebody's eyes focused on you when you were telling them something about your day. Think back to facial expressions and how important it is to be able to see those facial expressions on people and understand what their moods are for a conversation. And even going into body language, there's so much that your body tells everybody around you about your mood and about, the meanings behind what you're saying through hand gestures and just the general way you compose yourself. So moving forward, I want you kiddos to be conscious about, the nonverbal cues that you're giving off. And I want you to think very closely about the kind of things that you might be communicating to other people without even saying any words. Thank you so much for watching, kiddos. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned something along the way.
Now, just as a general sort of recap, what you learned about today was some body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and proximity.
Next week, you're going to be learning about values. Have a great week, kiddos.
Experience.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Take 10. Okay.
Nothing came out of here.
He opened his mouth and was just like, okay. We're running out of time.
We are serious actors.
Yes, professionals.
Victory!